Hi, I'm Marcia Lehman, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener. Today we're pruning a winterberry, and as you can see, this still has some berries on it, so we know it's winterberry. But did you know that winterberry is one of about 30 species of deciduous evergreens? So this is an evergreen that is not always green. It actually drops its leaves in the fall. But if you just go by the name winterberry, you might not realize that. But if you look at the botanical name, Ilex verticillata, as soon as you see Ilex, you know Ilex is the holly family. So this is actually a deciduous holly. Now, the other distinguishing thing, you can, as I say, you can see these berries. This tells you this is a female plant. And in this setting, we have 3 female plants and 1 male plant. The male plant is the only one that has absolutely no berries on it. But we did a close inspection, and a couple of the other females still have a few berries on them, and then this one has quite a few berries on it. This is a multi-stem shrub. These have been in the ground about 6 years and have not had much attention, and that's okay, because they really don't need regular pruning. So periodically you come in and you prune it a little bit for shape, but the shape of these are actually quite good. And the real emphasis is on removing the 4 Ds, dead, diseased, damaged, and dysfunctional, if it's going to come out and whack you when you mow the lawn. And at this point, these need a little bit of pruning to thin it for airflow and sunshine into the middle of the plant. So that's what we will be doing today. We're going to start with this plant in the middle, just so we have a good comparison of it versus the plants beside us. And let's just pan and show the other plants that are near it. So we've got a female over here, a female in the middle, and the lone male is over here. If you want berries, you have to have a male. And in this case, there are 3 females and 1 male. And they're very close together. They don't have to be that close together. If they're within 50 or 100 feet, you'll still get the pollination. And because I'm in tight quarters today, and the size of what we're pruning, I have my hand pruners, and I have my short-handled loppers, just so I have a little more room to maneuver. And as I do in most, we're going to start at the bottom, and we'll be focused on taking out the 4 Ds and thinning for airflow and sunlight into the middle. So let's get started. So this definitely needs a little thinning, but it's not bad. And I'm sure you notice there's a fence behind me. So the first thing I see, which A, is in my way, but B, is going to grow back towards the fence, is this stem. And so I'm just going to take that off down at the ground. That will give me a little more room to work, and it will allow these others to grow a bit more. Then also, if we zoom in, we have quite a number of, I won't call them spindly, but they are definitely thin little shoots coming up. And if they're smaller than the diameter of a number 2 pencil, we'll just take those out. Again, as I say, winterberry is a multi-stem shrub, so you can expect this to happen. But these little ones growing up in the middle will over time get bigger and block sunlight. So we'll just take those off right now. And then there's a few little things down here that are dead. And when you clip something that's dead, you'll know, because it goes crunch. So, and every time you think you've gotten all the little spindly ones, then you find another one. So the little spindly ones are out. And the next thing, moving up, I see, whoa, that just broke off. That was dead. Good test. That one looks dead, and it goes crunch. So maybe I'll just keep crunching here for a little bit. that crunch. And it's not uncommon for these to do that because they probably were not getting enough airflow and sunlight. So we'll just, this one is actually coming from the adjacent plant, but since I'm right here, we'll take that out. There's another one that wants to grow in from the adjacent plant. They just keep coming up. There's a fair amount of these. If there's any resistance, then I know it's still green, but if it just snaps off, breaks off, then it's already dead. Now, we've got a little funky growth coming from an adjacent plant. So even though I say I'm working on this center plant, if there's an encroaching limb from the adjacent, I'm going to take it. Oops, another spindly one that I missed. Okay, so I'm moving up to this one that's kind of on the front and debating if it's better that I clean it from the front, but I'll try and take as much as I can from the back side before I come around to the front and try and clean that up. So I've gotten about as much as I can get from back here at this level. What I can do now is stand up. And as you can see, this shrub is not quite as tall as me. So I can get a good look down through the top and see, oh man, there's still not enough cleaned out for airflow and sunshine. So what I'll do is now work from the top, and I'm really going after trying to find things that are dead that I can take out. And there is some, not as much as down below, but there is some. And it's really nice to work on shrubs that are shorter than you are so that you can get this view from the top. And from the top I see this stem, which we cleaned up a bit down below, but it really wants to grow up through the center. So we're not going to let it do that. And airflow and sunshine into the middle, that's what you want. So when you're looking at it from the top, it should not look like a really dense mess. So we've got a better view from the top here now. And again, from the top, I can also see where things may be rubbing and crossing or where they're growing into each other. Now here's one that I just want to shorten. And so I will come back to where there is a bud that faces in the direction that I want it to grow. So if I want it to grow towards the back rather than the center, then I'm going to cut it right above a backward facing bud. And this is coming from this plant. We'll clean that out a little bit. That one comes out and then wants to grow back in. I'll leave that for a moment. Because the other thing you want to do is to walk around and look at it from multiple perspectives, which is not particularly easy for me to do right now. So I'm going to do as much as I can from the back, and I'm looking down and I see this adjacent plant, so that wants to encroach. When we're done, we really want to be able to just barely tell that there are separate plants and this is not intended to be a hedgerow. So we do want a little space between them. Okay, so the view from the top here is much cleaner. I'm sure I'll come back and make a few more cleanup cuts. This wants to grow back into the center. But for now, I'm going to pause and come out and I'll work on the front and then we'll take an overall look at this specific plant. Okay, so I've come around to the front of the plant, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I see this growing out. And it's not dysfunctional, but as you can see, I'm just struggling with how to take it off even. Just not growing at a good place. And we've got some other things growing into the center. And what we found, or what I found when I was working from the back, is a lot of this smaller, lower stuff is already dead. It just breaks off easily. So this one wants to come out into the adjacent plant. This wants to grow back into the center. So does that. And this may seem like a lot, but as I say, these have been in the ground for 6 years and have really had no pruning done. So this may be a harder than usual pruning. If you did this every second or third year, you would not be taking off this much. Okay, and then coming up, that's growing into the center. Now here we're going to have rubbing, so I can take off one side. And there's no more rubbing there. That looks dead. That looks dead. I really like just using my fingertips and putting a little pressure on it, and as I say, if it flexes, it's still alive, and if it breaks off, well, then it was dead and it needed to come off anyway. Okay, here's an itty bitty little one coming. And you'll notice all the berries are at the top, so taking off some of this lower stuff isn't going to reduce the berry production. And now the fact that I can reach through this tells me we're starting to get it nice and thinned out for airflow and sunshine. So I'm going to stop and look at it from the other side. Whoops, there's an encroaching from the next plant. So all this material I've taken off is not from the plant I'm actually pruning. When I saw encroaching branches from the adjacent plants, I've been taking those off too. So the pile of debris that I have is a bit misleading. That's more than one plant worth. But let me pause and move around and see what I can get from the other side. Okay, so I've come over to the other side, and the first thing I notice is I've got this branch of the plant we're pruning that's growing up and hitting this beautiful cluster of berries, which is on an adjacent plant. So which one's going to go? I really want to keep the stem on the adjacent plant, so I'm going to come in and take this one off at the ground level. And again, since we've got multiple plants here, I can probably be a little more aggressive than if it was just, singular plants spaced a little further apart. So I think now I'm just going to stand up and look at it from the top on this side. And yeah, a lot of what I may take is off the adjacent plant. Yeah, well, except that crosses back into the middle. So getting the multiple perspectives always helps. And then I see this. Well, that's not dead, it just looks like it, but that's broken. So we'll take that. That one's broken. And when I snip those, I actually do see green. So despite the, hollies are pretty hardy, so I don't think this plant took a lot of damage during the December Arctic blast that we had. But I think I'm done on this plant. So let me stand back so that we can just pan from left to right. And you can see a basically unpruned one next to the one that we pruned. It's kind of sandwiched between two that have had a little touch up as we were doing the middle plant. But the focus is really on this center plant that we've been pruning. So let me step out of the picture and we'll just pan around. So we're done pruning this center plant, I would highly encourage you to look at the PDF handout that accompanies this video. It's got a great picture of what the winter berries look like. It also has a picture of what this looks like in the summertime when it is fully leafed out. I mean, then you say, yeah, it looks like a holly, it looks like an evergreen. But don't be surprised when it drops its leaves in the fall. So the handout gives you the botanical name, Ilex verticillata. It gives you a summary of the highlights that we made in the video. Thank you for joining us today. Go out and prune your winter berries.